Well, it's been a while since I've done a video, and I thought I would go ahead and finally get around to doing one for the planner cover template. I know a lot of people have been asking about it, and I have one I had to build, so I figured now would be a good time to go ahead and record the video. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making a cover for one of these day planners. And the planner cover template comes with two main pieces that get put together to create the front and the back together. And then it has a inside template to make the inside slip pocket. And then it comes with a little tab template if you want to put a closure on it. And then if you want optional templates that you can add to this, would be a decorative spine cover that we're going to do with a contrasting embossed hide. And then it also, you can get an inside pen pocket memo holder template that you can use in conjunction with the inside slip pocket to create some little tabs for pens and then like a little memo or little business card holder. So what we're going to do is we're going to first cut out the back. Now I had to, on this planner, I actually inlaid a brand, so I've already went ahead and done all that. And then I put some hair on hide behind it. And then on the back, after I sewed that, I put like a little patch on there and glued that. So that is already all finished and ready to go. And I have that just where I want it. Now I did cut this a little bit bigger, and I've got this in far enough so that I can arrange things around it, make sure I get everything straight exactly how I want it. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna put these two, the A1 and A2 templates together with the hinge. And then we're gonna lay it out exactly where I want it. And what I have figured is that the bottom corner, bottom right-hand corner of my box that goes around the brand, I want approximately 1.25 inches in and 1.25 inches up. Now you can obviously arrange it however you want it, and that's the nice thing about the clear templates. When you're doing something like this is then you can go back and put this over top of it. You can exactly see where everything's going to be placed. Make sure that it's exactly how you want it. I'm going to grab a little ruler. And I'm just going to measure to make sure that the line, one of the vertical lines on my brand is parallel to the edge, so I know it's straight. Okay, so I've got that. About where I want it. Okay. And we're going to take our knife. Now I usually cut my stuff out with just a box knife. Just make sure that your blade is good and sharp. You want to hold your template down, and I'm just going to cut. Just want to hold that down really good so that you don't get any wiggling. If you're going to cut alongside your template like this, like I'm doing, just make sure that you're really careful and just guide your knife just right up against it. if you got a really sharp knife, and you can nick this acrylic, so. And this hinge on these two pieces is just a little loose so that they don't, when you put them together, they don't get stuck and break. So just gotta make sure that when you're tracing around it, if you've got a pattern like this that has those hinges, just make sure that you got them pushed together like you want them, so it doesn't distort the pattern at all. Okay. All right, so those pieces are cut. So we're gonna put this aside. Now we're going to cut the inside slip pockets. I've pre-cut some leather, a chunk of leather, so I know that these will fit right on there. Okay. I'm using it's probably about a 3 to 4 ounce, probably closer to 3, I guess. It's an upholstery type leather. I got it from Texas Leather Goods, and it's called their Mojave, I think. I'll find out. I'll look it up and I'll post it in the comments what I'm using, because I can't remember. So we got one of those done. And actually, since we're gonna, I forgot about this, since we're gonna cut the piece that goes here to put our little pens in, what I need to do is I need to transfer these markings. These are gonna be our stitch lines that we're gonna use to line up the pocket that goes over top of this. And what I'm gonna use just to transfer those is I've got a super sharp little stylus it's a little knife that's got an X-Acto blade on one end and a pointy stylus on the other end. It's really meant for sign makers, but I find it very useful in my shop. I can't live without them. So I'm just gonna go ahead and just make a line right through those templates just to mark where I'm gonna sew and where I'm gonna line it up. So those two vertical lines is what I'm gonna use there. Okay, and let's go ahead and cut this other one out. Now on this one, make sure when you cut the other side that we have to mirror it, because it's gonna go on the other pocket, the back pocket. So we just gotta make sure that we mirror it correctly. And this is a little tight, but I think I can squeeze it. this one is, this planner is gonna have kind of a little bit of kind of unfinished look to it. If you wanted to do something that was kind of more finished, you know, you could cut these, do this out of a veg tan, a lightweight veg tan, and then you could, you know, burnish your edges nice and all that kind of good stuff. I'm not gonna do that on this. I want this to kind of have just a more rustic look. But I do have a little bit of fuzzies. I don't know if you can see right there. So I like to just take my lighter, and that works good to kind of burn those fuzzies off your cut edge. Okay, so we've got, here's our 2 pockets for the inside. Now we're gonna cut out so that was pattern piece C. I did 2 of those, and like I said, make sure that you mirror one. And then I'm gonna cut out one of the D, which is gonna be my inside pen and memo pocket. I'm just gonna cut out one of those, so I'm just gonna put that on the inside front cover. Okay, now on this one I also need to transfer my markings for my stitch lines. Now when I made this template, I kept those lines from going pretty close to the top and the bottom, just because I didn't want it to cause more of a stress point where it could break. So all you have to do is just move this template up and down, and then you could do a marking from the top to the bottom. And you'll notice that on these templates, if you line these up, that those don't line up, because that's going to allow us to give us a little bit more room for the pen. And I'm just going to make sure, I'm going to lengthen these also. Okay. All right. Okay, so that is the kind of the main pieces. Now we're going to cut out the piece for the spine. And I'm going to use this material, or this leather here, this pattern here. And again, the nice thing about the clear is I can get it exactly centered on my pattern. So I know my pattern in relation to my template piece is perfectly square. My design on my leather is nice and even and symmetrical and not crooked. So I'm going to take and use the crosshairs that are on this template and line it up with some reference points on my pattern to make sure that I want one of these diamonds to be centered right in the center. Okay, so now we're just going to cut around this, and we're going to just be cut pretty close, or pretty slow and careful so that so it doesn't shift when we cut. And while I'm cutting, I'm just pushing down in that template pretty hard. Okay, now I'm going to turn it because I find it easier to cut on this side versus inside. So I'm just going to turn it, make sure everything's lined up again. Alright, so now we've got our spine done, and like I said, you can see that everything is nice and even. So that's going to go on there like that. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make the inside slip pocket. Now if you take your main templates, this is like what's considered the inside panel, and if you'll see on here that I've got this line, that's what we're going to use to create the inside panel. So we're going to cut this square. Now you can make this out of a couple different things, like you can use the same leather if you want, whatever leather you're working on. However, I really like to use a bag stiffener for this. And this is, comes in a big roll. I got this at Tandy. You can also get it at Springfield Leather, I believe. And this is great to add just some stability. It's kind of got a cardboardy feel to it. And what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna line that with some pigskin so that that inside panel has got a nice finish to it. So what we need to do first, I've got these cut out now. They're not cut to size, they're just kind of cut big. So go ahead and get these cut down. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to cut the 3 sides. Okay, and then I'm going to turn this. This is the side that we just cut, so we know those corners are nice and square. I'm going to turn this, and I'm going to line it up to that line on the template. And then I'm going to use the template to cut my other side. So now we've got a piece that lines up perfectly with that. So we got one done. this piece has got a pretty straight bottom, so I'm just going to use the bottom and actually line it up at the bottom, and that would be one of my sides that's already cut. Alright, so we got that side done. We're going to flip it. Get that lined up. And cut our other side. Okay. We are done with the template pieces. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and glue our liner or our pigskin to this bag of stiffener. And what we want to do is we want to leave a little bit around the edge because we're going to actually fold that back over so that we have a nice edge on this. So I would say leave about 1/4 of an inch all the way around. I will show you how to do one, and then I will turn off the video and work on the other one. Okay, so what we're going to need to do, so I've got this piece and it's cut a little bit bigger than this. And we're going to go ahead and we'll square up this other edge here. And this doesn't have to be perfect, so I just kind of eyeball it because it's going to be turned back and sewn under or glued back anyway, so you're not going to know. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to put some glue on these. I use the glue from Lisa Sorrell from Sorrell Notions, and it's the Renia, the 315. It's a water-based contact cement, and I like it because it's just easy to clean up. It goes on easy. It's got a really good stick to it. There's absolutely no smell. And so I put it into a little condiment bottle that I bought, and all I'm going to do is just squeeze this on the back. Now this is a silicone brush. Now you can see that I've got some glue on it, and the nice thing about this, when I go to use it again after it's dry, just peels right off the silicone. Now the thing is, when you're putting this on, I don't like to put it on the whole thing at one time just because sometimes it could start drying up pretty fast. So I'll just squirt a little bit on and then work that in. And spread it around. You do want to be careful because, like, depending on when you're using this brush and flipping it back and forth like this, you can get some drops that'll fling off and get on your shirt. So make sure that you got anything on that you don't want glue on, to be careful. This is some smooth cell pigskin leather that I got from Springfield Leather. And I like this because it's got a really nice finish. So you can't see all the little hair holes like normal pigskin. This also works really good for if you need a liner on the back of watch bands. If you're making any of the watch bands for my templates, this makes an excellent liner for the back of your watch bands. If you do happen to get any of this on your table, you just let it dry and I'll just ball up, rub it, and it balls right off. Okay, so there's our glue. We're just gonna let that dry over here. And then we're gonna do the same thing on one side of our bag stiffener. And I don't believe it really matters as far as which side you use. Now I have found that like on this, I could spread it around. It doesn't soak in as much like it on the leather. So I think it seems like this spread is a little better on this. Although it's just a little harder to see. You just want to make sure that you get it pretty close to the edge so you get a nice bond. I've been using this glue for several years. I love it because, like I said, it doesn't have any odor at all. Okay. Okay, so we got that glued. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and glue the other one, cut the other one and glue it, and then let the glue set, and I'll be back. Okay, I am back. I did a few things while I had the phone paused. So I've got one of them glued to my backing. I have not wrapped my edges yet. I'll show you how we do that. And then I've got the other one, the glue is dry, and then the glue is dried on the liner. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna position this, we're gonna glue this to here, position it on the liner. I'm gonna tell you be very careful because once you push this down, it's down. It's not gonna, you're not gonna be able to hardly get it up. So what you wanna do is you wanna work from the top, and like I said, we left about a 1/4 of an inch all the way around. So we're just gonna eyeball this. This doesn't need to be exact, but we're just gonna line it up about a 1/4 inch from the top and approximately centered. And I'm gonna push it down at the top. And now I'm just gonna work this down. Okay. And then you can see how nice that is on that side. Okay, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually wrap these corners. So what I need to do is I need to run a bead of glue, very tiny bead of glue around all these edges. I'm just putting a very little bit on. I'm gonna go back with my brush, kind of even it out. I'm barely squeezing that. You can see just a tiny little bead of glue. And then I'm just going to take this and just even this out off the edge. Okay, so we're gonna let that one dry. But now I've got this other one and I've already done that to this, so we'll go ahead and we're just gonna wrap this edge. So what I do is I start in the center and just, actually let me grab my bone creaser, that will work. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna run this along the edge. And push it down. Kind of want to work from the center out. Just don't push it all the way to the end, because I'm going to show you we're going to like miter these little corners. Make sure that when you push this up, that you're not getting any wrinkles on the other side. Okay, so there's our edges there. So what we're gonna do on these is all we're gonna do is we're gonna pinch those together right to the edge. Say it's gonna create this like little miter, and then we're just gonna take a pair of scissors and cut that off. Okay. Okay, so there is one of the panels. And this is going to go right inside there. Like I said, then this just gives it a lot more structure. It just has a better feel to it when it's gonna be finished. So what we're gonna do while this other one dries, because it's not quite dry yet, I'm gonna go ahead and get this spine sewn on here. What I did is if you'll notice that on pattern piece A2, there's this line that goes right down the center of those little hinges, and that's your center point. So what I did is I just made sure that I lined this up and I marked my center, top and the bottom, on my main piece. And then I did the same thing on the back of my spine. You can see at the very top and the very bottom, I've got the centers marked. Now what I also did while I had the phone pause is I went ahead and put edge coat on the edge here, because this has got kind of a gray background and I don't like the edges not being brown, so I went ahead and did those edges. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna lay this, get it lined up, we're gonna pull this back and get those top and bottom, the marks that we've got, we're gonna line those up. Let me go get me some clips real quick. And then again, we're going to line up those two marks at the bottom. Now on this, I'm going to use some double-faced tape on the edge of this to keep it where I want it to be. Take down. Okay, next take down. Okay. So now all we need to do is we're going to go to the sewing machine and we're going to stitch real close right along this one and this one. We're not going to worry about these sides because we'll do that when we sew everything all together. So I'm going to go ahead and move the phone. Okay, so here's my class 20 that we're going to use. And I've added some lights to this because I feel like the light that comes with it is not great for my eyes. I'm getting old. I can definitely tell I need a lot brighter work area. So I added an LED strip light here, and then I also added this light, which is also another LED that's a bendable one I can move around. I just got this at the hardware store. Seems to be a little better. But. Okay, so what we're gonna do is, I don't want to back stitch. I like to pull my ends through. I don't like to go forward and back and forward. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put my needle down right where it needs to start. Hold on to my thread and start sewing. Be careful when you're going around the curves because they're a little tricky. I'm still learning my gas pedal on this machine. Okay, again, we're not going to back stitch. We'll just tie those off. So I'm using 1/38 thread, and I've got a 22 needle in this. And I've got my stitch length just right about 5. Okay. Okay, so that's done. I got my stitches right along those edges on both sides. We're gonna go back to the work table. Okay. Basically, we are almost to the point of getting ready to start putting everything together. So we've got our 2 panels. We've got our 2 inside slip pockets. We got our other little pen and memo pocket. And that's it. So next thing we need to do is we need to sew this together. So what we're gonna do is, I actually went and skived the edges of this because I wanted just them a little bit thinner at the edge. So I ran through the skiver. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to sew this seam, and this seam. This will get picked up when we do around the whole edge. So we're gonna go over to the sewing machine and we're gonna do those 3 seams there. All right, so when we do this, so again, we're not gonna do the forward and back. We're just gonna start and then we're gonna pull these through and tie them off. I'm going to start it just right at the very top of that top pocket. Make sure everything is lined up good. Okay, that one's done. Now what we need to do is we're going to line up the lines. We're going to line up like that. If you want, you can tape it, but you shouldn't have to. This first one, just even it, when you position it correctly and flatten it out, it's going to line up with that line anyway, so. Make sure you hold your tails. Okay. And there's that one. Now this one is where we're going to have to create just a little ripple. So there's my mark that I've got. It's right there. And I'm going to take this and pull this back and line it up with that line. I'm just going to start it a little bit, and then I'm going to come back on this end and I'm going to make sure my lines are lined up. Okay, so there's the one little pocket for the pen, and then we'll do this one when we do the outside edge. Let's go back to the table. Okay, so I got these trimmed. So I pulled all those threads to the inside, I tied a knot, and then I use a lighter to melt those. So now all we really have to do is put this all together and sew all the way around it. So what we're going to do is we're going to run a bead of glue all around the whole outside edge of this. And then, same thing, we're going to run our glue on the 3 sides of each of these panels. We'll go ahead and glue that. Then we need to position these. We're going to glue these so we get everything all nice and glued together so we can stitch. So I'll start working on that and I'll be back. Okay, I got everything glued. I did go back and I forgot one step, but I want to show you. So on these inside panels, I like to stitch along that inside edge just to kind of finish it off. Plus it also helps to hold down where we rolled that back over. It just helps to hold down. I think it just gives it a nicer inside look and finish. So I did go back and stitch both of those. Again, pull your threads to the back and then tie them off and burn them. So, all right, I've run my glue all the way around, and I just made sure that I only have the glue where those panels are, so we don't obviously want to glue right in here because we're not gonna have anything glued to that. So, and we're just gonna go ahead and position these panels and just make sure that they line up really close to that edge. Okay, so there's one. Okay, and there's that one. So those are now both glued. Now we can go ahead and run our glue around the top of this so that we can glue our inside flaps on. And what I like to do is grab my template and line it up and just make a mark so I know where I need all my glue to start and stop. Hold on one second. All right, sorry about that. Had a phone call. All right, so I've got both the panels glued to the back. I went ahead and ran my glue around that edge and also that edge, and it's dry. I've got the glue on these, and that's dry. And then on this one, I went ahead and so since we're gonna sew down this seam, I didn't want to sew here and then sew again, so I just have this one just glued right here. Okay, so what we're going to do is line these up. Okay. Okay, so that's set. This one's set. So all we have to do is go through and stitch all around. So I'm gonna pause the camera and I'm gonna move it over to the workbench or to the sewing machine. So our final step is just to sew around the edge. One thing I forgot to point out before I shut off the camera before was on these little pen holders. What we need to do is, because we've got a little extra on the top, we can't just sew across there. We had to take a little tuck. I like to just take a little tuck on those. So what I did is just right in the center, we're just gonna fold that like this. Fold it over. Take your little tuck here and push it over. And then all you're gonna do is just make sure that you clip those so they stay in place. And then when we get to that point, we'll go slow. So we wanna sew from the top, obviously, and I'm gonna start in the top right corner. Hopefully I can do this without messing up my phone and have room on my table here. We're gonna take a little bit, just not quite, a little bit shy of 1/4 of an inch seam. So I can feel it get into those pen pockets. So I just want to make sure that those are pushed down so they're not in my way. Yep, sorry about that. Just one more and we're almost done. Always make sure that if you stop in the middle of sewing, make sure your needle's in the down position. Okay. We're going to pull our threads to the inside. And we're going to burn them. Okay. And you can see how those turned out down there. There we go. So let's go put our planner inside and see how it looks. All right. So I went ahead and I added the planner, and it's got enough room in it so it's not so tight that what's going to happen is when you open and close it, you know, it's going to want to open up flat. So it's got a little bit of play in there so that when you close it, it closes up nice. So anyway, I hope that was informative. If you have any questions, be sure to let me know. If you any suggestions on how things, if you would do things differently, would love to hear them. This is just kind of how I do them. If you have any input questions, just give me a holler at the comments below. Be sure to check out our Facebook group, our Facebook page, which is Tack Templates. And then if you are a customer of ours, we do have a special private Facebook group for customers called Tack Template Tips. And it's a great place to post questions, post projects, all that kind of stuff. But that is only open to customers. So all you gotta do is make a purchase at our website and then request membership, and I will get you approved. So anyway, hope you enjoyed it, and thank you so much.